I don't know much about nothing, but I'm still sitting here writing these words. This is my confession. I did it. I watched 1922, and then the rats came, and I hurried me on to the lowdown. "1922" was released on October 20th, 2017, which sounds really weird to say. It's rated R. It has a runtime of 1 hour, 42 minutes, was written and directed by Zach Hilditch, and it is based on a novella by Stephen King. Wilfred is a fairly simple farmer who is happy with his very poor but very simple life. It means the world to him. It's more important to him than anything else, including, apparently, his wife, who he is ready to kill when she decides to sell her adjacent piece of property to a livestock company, which would actually render Wilfred's farm pretty much unusable. He manages to convince his son to go along with this plan, which is seriously twisted if you think about it, and they pull it off. But since this is a Stephen King story, you can be sure that once the lady's dead, the trouble is just beginning.
And you just sit there.
Leave off.
What did you say?
I said, leave off, so we can be a family again.
So, as I said, this is a Stephen King tale, and it has his fingerprints all over it. From the protagonist with a bizarre accent and cadence.
I thought of going to law on the matter, and yet something held me back.
To the slow build-ups, to the weird plot twists, like Henry and Shannon becoming Bonnie and Clyde. What? To the stupid, selfish choices that his characters make that constantly blow up in their faces. Now, the performances are pretty solid. Thomas Jane channels this weird southern accent that seems to have just a hint of New Englander thrown in. Molly Parker and Dylan Schmid do very well in their respective roles. I've never not enjoyed Neil McDonough, not since I first saw him in, nerd alert, Star Trek First Contact, way back in 1996. So, as with most Stephen King stories, the pacing here is a little strange. It's a bit slow, even for a slow burn, and the protagonist is quite frankly so unsympathetic, you're going to find it very hard to want to root for him and want him to succeed. Frankly, I think Arlette's concerns are pretty valid. Wilfred has this attachment to the land, and he values it far more than his attachment to his wife. And the fact that he poisons his own son against his own mother is really heartbreaking and kind of disgusting. But therein lies the real horror of this film. Not in the eventual arrival of creepy ghosts and things, but in the horrors that can be inflicted on one human being by another human being. And that, of course, screams Stephen King perhaps more than anything else.
Bet she wouldn't. Not till she was satisfied.
So, is this one worth it? Only if you enjoy films that fly in the face of normal scary movie conventions. 1922 does employ some standard tactics and jump scares and things like that, and it's effective when it does it. But the real horror here comes from what the main character is willing to do to his own family in order to keep this land that has been in his family for so long. If you're not a fan of slow-burning movies that demand a bit more patience and thoughtfulness, you'll probably want to skip this. If, however, you enjoy being challenged a little bit, in a good way, or if you're just a general Stephen King fan and you enjoy the style of his storytelling, then this one might work for you. Personally, I give 1922 2 Grimms. That's it for this edition of 31 Nights, 31 Frights. Thanks for listening and watching. I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and checking out all of the other shows we have to offer here at Grimm's Scary Tales.